What's up? My name is Matt, this is Hidden Light, and today we're answering the question, the one question I get maybe most often. Should I do silver gelatin or platinum? In a nutshell, I can't tell you the answer. It all depends on what you want your print to look like. What I've done is to print the exact same negatives, just contact prints, in both platinum and silver. You can see those videos here or down below or somewhere. We'll just look at a few prints side by side and figure out what's going on. What the advantages or disadvantages of each print are. I will start by saying platinum's way more expensive. Like, way more expensive. So if you are on a budget and you don't specifically need platinum palladium, you're probably not going to go there. You know, I think we start 8x10 platinums around $200 as of when we're recording this video, and silver gelatins start closer to $40 or $50. That's a pretty substantial price difference. So price is a thing. And then in general, the two biggest changes you'll experience from platinum to silver, one is longevity, right? Platinum's supposed to last longer. That doesn't mean it will, but it's supposed to. And then the other is contrast. Silver gelatin is a higher contrast, more versatile process. And by that I mean, if we're printing from an original negative, in silver gelatin you can dodge and burn and do all kinds of cool things, where with platinum palladium you typically can't unless you've already done that on the computer in Photoshop beforehand. So these, I'm printing from 8x10 negatives, which I shot on my 8x10 camera. So I'm not using any Photoshop. This entire process is entirely analog, which is cool and it's fun. But it also means that if I need to make a change to an image, I have to be able to do it like in the print at the time of making the print. I can't do dodges and burns in platinum because I can't get anything between the UV light source and the print because of the way my system is set up, and because the exposure times are so much longer. Like some of these were like 3 to 5 minute exposures, and to stand there dodging a section of the print for 5 minutes would make you really, really hate yourself. So silver gelatin, these were much faster. I was like right on the edge of going too fast on some of these, in the 8 to 25 second range. I can do an 8-second dodge on a print all day long. No big deal. So without any further ado, let's just look at some of these side by side. Now the first thing you'll notice about this one is that one of them is backwards, and yes, one of them is backwards. I printed this one backwards. You can either choose to believe that I did that intentionally to provide you a beautiful thumbnail for this YouTube video, or you can know the truth, which is that I did it because I'm a spaz and I was going fast and I'm not used to being in the dark or printing silver gelatin. Whichever you choose to believe is great. So here's the same exact negative. This one was printed upside down, but I mean, they're similar in many ways, but you can tell instantly how much darker the blacks are on the silver, while the highlights stay mostly the same. They're the same-ish. They're in the same ballpark, right? But the blacks from here to here, it's not even close. That's not even a fair comparison. Because the blacks are deeper in the silver gelatin, sometimes it can feel like you're getting better detail in the dark shadows in a platinum. And it can also feel like you're getting a lot more detail in the extreme highlights in a platinum, because the tones are not as far apart. The histogram basically just gets scrunched right into this tiny two-stop little experience. And so you get to feel like you have more detail, say, here and here than you might here and here, right? It's not necessarily the case, but it feels like that. So contrast change, definitely. There is a tonal difference. This one's warmer. I think this was pure palladium, so it's gonna be a little warmer. And lower contrast, that's what you expect. So there's our little lighthouse. We'll just put them over here. And let's go to another one. So these are printed the same direction, so it's maybe a little bit better of a comparison. You know, blacks versus If I was looking at this print just on its own, and I didn't need it to have that timeless feel, I wanted it to feel tack sharp and super neutral, I would say these blacks are muddy. Because compared to these, they really are. There's just no oomph in these blacks. That's the way platinum is. It's really hard to get a good black in platinum. On the other hand, the sort of warm, timeless vibe to this works for me. Like this scene works, I think, better in platinum than it does in silver gelatin, because I don't need the punchy blacks in this. That's not what this photograph is about, right? Like here, in this one, you could make the argument that the photograph is about the leading line here and then the punchy black contrasting here with a little bit of vignette to keep you in. In this image, you don't need it. It's not helping. It doesn't hurt necessarily, but if I want you to focus here, I want softer, more approachable detail and less distracting high contrast around the outside. Yes? Lovely. Next. Here's an interesting one. So this is a good start. Here, I'm basically stuck, right? In order for me to change what this looks like in platinum, I have to scan it, go through and make a bunch of changes like dodge some of the house, dodge her and the dog, and do a significant burn through this whole section so that we get rid of some of these whites and trash cans and stuff. I would just burn the shit out of all this. Can't do that in platinum. But here, if this is my silver gelatin base print, the start of my exposure, I could stop down 2 stops, which I would need that time because this is only 8 seconds, right? If I stop down 2 stops, I have plenty of time to do some dodges and burns. And I would consider dodging a bunch of the house, definitely dodge Kristen and the dog, and then do a nice big burn through here. And the entire exposure might take me a minute worth of work, but it would end up being much more balanced, right? Not because it's flat, but because I have the opportunity to control the contrast and to focus the viewer where I want. This, I think, is a little terrible as it is, but it's a good start point. It's where I would start my base print because I love how dark and moody this tree gets. And it gives me a starting point for the rest of all this that I can come in, you know, dodge some of this, burn some of this. It would be magical. Good starting point. But you can see, like, for instance, the blacks in these windows provide more of a high contrast experience, and it feels different from here to here. Yes? Yes. Okay, here's a really good example. Get the spider webs off this. How did that even happen? So, this one's flat. There's no 2 ways around that, right? That's just the way that it is. On both of these, I'm exposing for her face and letting the rest of the print just do whatever it does. Here, though, I could come in, leave her hat because it's perfect the way that it is, take a very small tool and just dodge her face a little bit so that it brightens up a skosh. And then I can come in and burn in some of the reflection. I can burn in some of these corners to make it feel like the water's a little bit more interesting. This one I'm stuck with where it is. Now, granted, I like this look. The super warm, kind of timeless, hanging out in the water experience works for me here. I just don't have very many options. I'm stuck with what it is. I'm going to frame this and it's going to go in my office because I'm about it. But, you know, it's good to have both choices. This I would call a reasonably high key image. And that is usually a great place to hang out for platinum palladium, or in this case, pure palladium. It's just so soft and approachable, whereas her hair here in this one's starting to get a little too dark. This, I don't get that experience. It's a little bit more approachable, it's a little bit softer. It feels like you have better detail in the highlights, even if you don't. There might be. It's probably the same though. Okay, last example. This is one where I think I prefer the silver gelatin. I think the contrast here showing me the structure of the trees, showing me the structure of all this stuff really works. I think I could go further with this and actually come in and burn in some of this foreground element to kind of give you like this leading line that scooches in right here. I could burn in some of these psycho highlights in the sky behind it. I think I could balance this a little bit better and make it more moody. Whereas this is a little bit flat. It's a little bit more timeless. But this picture in platinum would work an awful lot better without all of this. Like the trailer places you in a time that the platinum effect of this photograph is trying to avoid. If it's going to be timeless, you don't want to know if it was shot in 1900 or 2000, right? Or 2022 for that matter. So what I'll probably do is take this, dump it into Photoshop, copy this, put it over here, and do this from a digital negative instead. That'll be interesting. This, punchy, contrasty, feels more modern, more neutral, more snappy. The trailer doesn't feel out of place to me. It feels like it belongs. So, anyway, platinum versus silver. Contrast, warmth, tone, longevity. That all depends on what you're after. You can, we'll link to a video about it, but you can figure out how to install soft-proof profiles on your computer so that you can use Lightroom to figure out what your picture will look like in either platinum or silver. And that's a real easy thing to do, and you can just do it whenever you want. Or you can email me, and I'll get back to you and show you what I think they would look like and what my opinion is. Happy to do that. I do that all the time. That's what this video is for. Yeah. Anyway, I had to print for like 3 hours to make all of these because I'm a noob in the silver gelatin darkroom, and it took me a long time to get it figured out and to find a box of paper that wasn't fogged. And I'm pooped. It's time for a coffee. I'll see you in the next one.